Hey everybody, John Huber here, Maryland K-12. On my third segment of this Abby Zwerner case. If you're not familiar, you go to my YouTube channel, check out some of my social media channels, and you'll see that I'm really digging in on this particular case. And the reason is because there are just so many angles to this, and just horrible situations. So many intersecting issues in terms of education and school safety that I just really it really struck a chord with me. If you just to give you a brief recount, a 6-year-old kid in an elementary school shot a teacher, walked right up to her, took a shot. But there's a lot going on, and we talked about in the first couple cases how there were situations. The assistant principal was made aware of it, she didn't act on it, and that's well documented. So if you go and you look at my website, Maryland K-12, I got some documents on there. You want to dig around a little bit and look at some of the comments I made on it. But in this particular segment, I'm kind of digging in on one particular thing and a few others as I lead. And I'm going to have one more thing on this before I wrap it all up. So the one thing I'm looking at in this case here, or in this segment here, is what's called a reinstatement conference. There was none, apparently. I can't say 100% there wasn't one, but there is no indication anywhere whatsoever that there was a reinstatement conference. Just in case you don't know what that is, it's very simple. When a student is suspended from school, the theory is the kid's behavior, or whatever he or she did, is so significantly interrupted to it interrupts the learning of the building, creates such a disruption that child needs to be removed for a period of time, a day, 2 days, 3 days, whatever it is. And at the end of that period, the kid needs to come back with the parent and the administrator, and sometimes the teacher, or depending on who else is involved, and they need to have a conference. And at the conference, they need to kind of review what happened. You're not going to go over what happened again, but you say, okay, this is in the past. What can we do? And you create a path forward. For example, if the kid was suspended for fighting, we need to make sure that the fight, whatever the conflict was that caused the fight, has now been resolved. We need to make sure that if there's some animosity between one kid or another or whatever, it needs to be resolved moving forward. This case screams for that, because if you didn't know this, if you read, you'll find out. This kid, even though he was a first grader or second grader, I can't remember, he's 6 years old, it was his first day back from a suspension. And the reason he was suspended is because of a very aggressive act. He took Mrs. Werner's phone, the teacher who he eventually shot. He took her phone and he threw it, and it busted and it broke, and that is why he was suspended. So there's clearly, this kid was harboring something really some real serious anger towards this one particular teacher, and that was never given a chance to be addressed. And any administrator would know that if a kid of that age is throwing this teacher's phone, he's got a problem with that teacher, legitimately or not. I'm sure it's not. These elementary kids have their own way of thinking, but it needs to be addressed, and it wasn't. So the kid just comes back to school. I believe it was the first day back from suspension. It might have been the first day back after the holiday break. I can't remember. It was January 6th. I know that. So anyway, the kid comes back, just walks right into school. Apparently, again, I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong on that, somebody tell me, and I'll shut up. But I don't think that there was a reinstatement conference. The kid just came right back. The reason that is significant is because his anger was directed towards this specific teacher, this individual teacher, and it wasn't properly dressed. So the kid comes back to school, he goes around, and next thing you know, he ends up shooting her. Would a reinstatement conference have prevented this? It's hard to say. Maybe not. Probably not. I mean, this kid, but he came with anger, with harbored serious anger for this particular teacher. Why was that? I mean, you don't know. I'm sure Abby Zwerner knows, and I'm sure Dr. Parker knows, but it was never addressed. So then the question is, why not? Why didn't they have that? And I can't really answer that, but I can tell you this. It can be just a matter of laziness. I was guilty of it. I had kids who were suspended, and you're supposed to have these forms where the kid comes back, and the kid has to agree to make some changes before he's allowed to come back. There have been a few times in my career where a kid was suspended and he just refused to admit he did anything wrong, and he wasn't going to change anything. I wouldn't let him back in. It's like, sorry, you're going to have to get past this, and then eventually it all worked out. But it's just a very, very targeted anger, and it wasn't properly addressed. And then there's all sorts of other things that weren't properly addressed. But this particular thing, this isn't just on this administrator, and you'll see in my next episode. There's a lot going on here that goes well beyond this one administrator, and how they left her out to dry is a different. If it's a different issue, I'll address that later. But I just can't imagine not having a reinstatement conference for a kid who had that much anger directed at one teacher. At least maybe at the time they didn't realize that it was so dramatic. Maybe he just grabbed her phone and threw her phone. But even so, you need to have a conference. They prioritized testing. There was makeup testing. And anybody in education knows, makeup testing means makeup testing. And it's just a real, just a terrible, terrible situation. Another one of those little gaps that you don't hear too much about. I don't think there was a reinstatement conference. Anyway, some of the other things that are coming up in my next one or two, the assistant principal apparently told multiple people, his mother's on the way up. We don't need to do that. His mother's on the way up. Who called the mother? There's one thing I read somewhere where apparently she told Abby Zwerner early in the morning, or she told the other teacher, her name escapes me right now, said, tell her, meaning you go tell Miss Zwerner she can call her mother to come pick him up. That's laziness. When some kids, you just say, yeah, all right, good, tell her to call his mother, come get her. There's a little laziness there. I hate to use the word laziness, but it's probably like more of a testing is more of a priority. Yeah, tell his mother to come pick him up. Did anyone ever actually call his mother prior to the kid shooting her? Or I don't know. They kept saying, mother's on the way up, mother's on the way up. Was she really? Did anyone actually call her? There's no indication. I've searched high and low. I've done everything I can. Nowhere, anywhere, is there any testimony or documentation that says the mother was in fact called and was in fact on her way up. Now, of course, she took the fifth, and I don't blame her for that. I do not blame Dr. Parker for taking the fifth whatsoever. There's no admission of guilt. I think, if it were me, you shut your trap and you lawyer up, because they're coming for you. And it's just a horrible thing. All sides. But anyway, I got a few more. I got one or two more on these things. But reinstatement conference, was mom on her way up? I'm not sure. Anyway, probably have two more episodes on this, and then I'll wrap it up and we'll move on. So anyway, thanks. Have a great day.